Oh hey, Professor Dave here. In this video, we're going to make that cupcake with just a few simple lines. One's a revolve, one is a pullback, and the result is both as easy as it is delicious. So now we're going to explore the difference between project and pullback using cupcakes and icing. But the key here is getting a curve onto the surface so we can split it and then do an offset. So here is the desired result, and notice how the icing goes up and down, kind of in a nice random pattern. And that was using the pullback, getting this curve onto the surface from any direction in the closest direction. Now, most people are familiar with the project command. So the way that works is you get a single direction and the curve will land on the surface. I'm going to go to the front view here. And so when I highlight the curve, you can see it was projected from this viewport, this front viewport, and it hit the surface on the front side and the back side, and it pretty much just stretches in between on the sides. So it's going to match and not look organic. Unlike this guy over here. This is our result. Okay, and the reason we're doing this to get the curve on the surface is we're going to split and offset. That's how you get a lot of detail on complicated surfaces. Okay, that's the goal. Let's turn those guys off. I am going to draw a quick curve here. I go in the front viewport. And to make this organic, we're going to use a control point curve. So that's on the standard menu. Here is the control point curve. I'm going to snap on that origin there. Looks like that's the midpoint. And I'm going to hold down Shift so that it goes straight out. And this is the important key as you make revolves. You want to hit that axis perpendicular. So the first two and last 2 points should come straight in. And I'll show you how to do that. So I'm going to come up here. Classic cupcake profile. All right, so if we have the perpendicular O-snap on, that will help us guide it in. And now if I highlight those control points, F10 on PC, we can make additional changes. You can move things around, which is pretty common. You can pick one or multiples of the points and just do a little bit of massaging. So that is our cupcake. But again, these two are perpendicular, as are the bottom two. Now, if you accidentally move them away, here's a great little trick I use. Let's say it's coming down at an angle. That would make kind of a little hole or divot or pinch. So you can pick both of those points, and you can scale on the axis where you want them to align. So I'm just going to hold down that gumball square, and you get a little point snap. So those two are now perfectly aligned. It's a great way to do it. Let's jump back to perspective. And so the command is surface revolve. There we go. And the reason I've drawn this red axis line is I have something to snap to. So that's always helpful. So there is a point there and an end point there. Go ahead and say full circle, and we're done. So we've got the basics of a cupcake. Okay, now I'm going to turn off the control points here. That's F11, or control points off with this icon here. And we're going to get this curve to go around the cupcake and vary it up and down. So probably the easiest shape would be a circle, but we have to use a specific kind of circle that has extra control points so that we have more to maneuver. That would be a deformable, which kicks us up to degree 3. And you'll see why this is really important. I'm going to type in the point count, which is defaulting to 8. I'm going to have maybe 24 points, and we're ready. So we can do this anywhere. I'm maybe just snap onto this axis here and hold down Shift so I come out straight. Now, if you normally draw a circle, you probably wouldn't realize it only has 8 control points. This one has the exact number I told it, and we can move these around. So I'm going to lower this into position. So there it is, kind of in orbit around the cupcake. We're going to turn the control points back on. That's F10, or that same icon I talked about. And we're just going to move these guys around. The gumball is fantastic, so we're just going to pull it down. There's a little bit of a drip. Maybe some of them go up a bit. Maybe more of them go down. This is a great little trick here. I'm going to pick 3 of these points and I'm going to pull them down, and then I'm just going to pick the center point, so it's continuing what the other two started. So it's a great way to have a larger scale. You can also do just a single point, so a more sharper drip. Completely random. So as we go around, maybe have a drip that's too wide. You can even scale those in if you want. It's going to be more random because we're guiding all these control points in any direction that we want. And it's not going to look like that weird projecting one from earlier. Okay, I think that's fine. So the trick now is to get this onto the surface so we can do some of the following steps. The way we do that is very similar to project, but it's called pullback. I'm going to turn the control points off with F11 or that same icon. So this is a curve from object, and there's the project you might be familiar with. Pullback, most people don't know about. Okay, so looking at the command line, it says curves and points to pull. That's the one we just edited. Right-click to enter, and then the surface that pulls it is the cupcake. Boom! It goes straight in and in the closest possible direction. So that was really cool. I'm going to undo that. What you might want to do in case it doesn't land the way you want is I'm going to repeat the command up here, right-click, and there's all your recent commands, pull back. We don't want to delete the input, just in case it's not what you want. You want to keep the original so you can continue editing. Okay, here's the surface to pull. Boom. So now we have the result on the surface and the original one. So this is half the battle or 3/4 of the battle. So this control point curve there, you might be interested to know if we turn on the control points one more time, it is super complicated. But that is not a problem. It is exactly as it needs to be to touch that surface everywhere. So that gets us to why do you want this curve on the surface, and that is to create a simple edit or split. So we'll go to the split command here. I'm going to select the object to split, right-click, and then that curve that touches it, right-click. So now this top part is separated. It looks like they are still touching, which they are along that one edge, but now they are disconnected. And we can do our final step here is to give this some thickness. So if we did a surface offset, which might be your first suggestion, is we could have a little bit of an opening there. So I would suggest using the solid offset. So it's on the solid menu, and there is the offset right here. So these arrows will tell you which direction you can go out or in. It's already in the correct direction. And I want to make sure the distance is, let's do 5. And I think the rest is okay. So now we've got icing that varies in its design as it goes around. It's not the same front and back. This looks a little complicated, but it's exactly what is needed. But I do like to sometimes turn off these ISO curves. So you can go to the Properties panel, and the ISO curves can just be turned off. So nothing has changed. It's just a little bit less visually distracting. Now the final step here is to give this a little bit of a fillet, so a little radius around the corner. And the reason I always type in specific numbers is so I can remember them later. And we had given it a thickness of 5. That means we can't be bigger than 5 if we're going to round this corner off. I will select the number somewhere in the 3 to 4 range. So let's do that right now. Since this is a poly surface with an inside, an edge, and an outside, we're going to be looking at the solid menu. Solid, fillet edge. Fillet is the rounded one. So we're going to click on that edge. And then I'm going to change the radius to, let's say, 3.5. Looks like it didn't change. We have to now set all. 3.5. That just will happen occasionally if you have multiple points around there. So that little preview will tell you that that'll be 3.5 of the 5 units will be the fillet around the corner. So we'll just go ahead and do it. Right-click to accept. And there you go. There is any cupcake shape with your icing design and its thickness. And then you can modify that fillet as needed. So there you go. Just remember, when you do a revolve, always have the 2 endpoints hit the axis perpendicular. That's important so you don't have any holes, openings, or weird anomalies. And then the goal here is to get the curve onto the surface. You can project in many cases on simple surfaces, but when something is curving in all directions, you want to use that pullback. And finally, use the circle deformable option to kick it up to degree 3, and you can then type in more control points than you normally get.